right, greetings. Welcome back to Black Bear News, where everything is connected. How y'all doing? Sorry, I know it's a late show. I told you it was going to be a different time today. Yesterday, I thought it was going to be earlier today, but it was not earlier today. It was later today, which is the only time I had to do it today. But we should be back on schedule starting tomorrow. So thanks for rolling with the time change, guys. I appreciate you, but we have a couple people tuned in. Let's see y'all. Gene, Judy. Yeah, some folks are going to tune in. Urban Hermit, how you doing? I know that most people are expecting noon, and 3 hours later is maybe something people can or cannot tune in for, but I expect people will roll in as time goes on. Excuse me. Jesus. Let's get into it. There's a lot to cover. Hopefully today's show is not too haphazard, but we're we're talking about how the planet is being destroyed, and we're also talking about how ridiculous the people who are destroying the planet are acting. So there's that, right? The people that destroy the planet have names and addresses, right? We know who they are. We know where they work. They're usually public figures, very public figures. So they're not hard to find. And it's easy to point at them and go like, what are you doing over there? Like, what? I see what you're doing. It's funny because people can totally see what they're doing, but they don't seem to be, able to do anything about it. They can't seem to stop them. They're like, man, this is bad. I wonder what we should do. What should we do? Should we try and stop these guys? That particular scenario is always, I don't know. Well, it's funny to me. And by funny, I mean really sad. All right. But this is going on in France. I think this is all part of Hurricane Daniel, or the storm Daniel the storm, who seems to be just, rolling around like a drunkard in a bar, just knocking down cities wherever it goes. He's like a drunken giant. Daniel is a drunken giant who comes into your town and vomits all over everything and just destroys, right? Greece, Libya, Spain, France. Daniel is a bad house guest. Daniel is not a cool friend to hang out with. Daniel is a mess. Daniel is not helping things out. And Daniel will never leave. Seems like he's he just keeps on. He doesn't know when to stop. That's Daniel's problem. He doesn't seem to be able to stop. But yeah, also Saudi Arabia is getting a little bit of Daniel too, I think. This must be. Oh, all right. Mark Cranfield, you're a lurker? I don't mean, all good. Thanks for letting me know, Mark. Glad you're here. Yeah, I mean, you can say all you want to say. It's all good. Feel free. Chat it up. We have lots of lurkers on this show. It's all good. I appreciate all the lurkers, the people that watch the show and don't want to make themselves known. There are lots of you. I know there are lots of you because I see people responding to my videos in other places, right? With things that they say. It seems like directly influenced by my videos. So I'm like, you must be watching my show. You must be watching my show, and you won't let me know that you're watching my show. It's okay. It's okay. But anyways, good to see you, Mark. This is in Saudi Arabia. Flooding in all kinds of places. Yes, Judy. Yes. Lots of flooding everywhere. All over the place. Somebody tried to tell me, I made a comment about it on Twitter today about, you know, the truthers aren't really covering all these floods because it's hard to find a conspiracy theory there. And then this guy's, you know, posts an article about Saudi Arabia or Yemen or one of those countries, like testing out geoengineering, right? You know, making rain. And I was like, okay. And he's like, 2 dams failed in Libya. That should be investigated. I was like, okay. Right. But what about the Netherlands? What about Spain? What about Greece? What about Saudi Arabia? What about, right? Really? You got you got that many you have that many rainmakers up in the sky? And why would you do that? My other question for you is, why would you do that? Why would you destroy your own infrastructure? Maybe you see it as weather warfare. You're destroying somebody else's infrastructure. Okay, but like eventually, it's like it takes a lot of energy to do that. I don't know why you're doing that. I think it takes a lot of energy to do that. Maybe the point is to make everybody believe that climate change is real, but it's just like it takes a lot of energy to move these storms and move these systems and move, you know, the water around. You know, I find it difficult to grasp that particular one. So he sent me that article about Saudi Arabia and rainmaking, and I sent him an article about how water vapor in the air from a warming world, and also all the increased energy, right? There's energy. Heat is energy. Heat is energy. When you turn on your car engine, what happens? It gets hot. Why does it get hot? The energy. The energy makes it hot. The heat is also energy, right? It's like it's one and the same. Got it? You put a lot of heat into you turn on all those engines. Billions of engines all over the world are turning on every day. Hey guys, turn on the engine. And the emissions that trap said heat, trap the radiation, the sun, whatever, however you want to call it, they trap the energy. It's heat energy. Heat. The earth is heating up. That heat is a lot of energy. All that energy, it takes a lot of energy to move, to warm oceans. To warm oceans to the point where they're creating more storms, to push all the water vapor up into the sky and then have all that water vapor come down in the form of rain or snow or whatever. There's a lot of heat in the system. There's a lot of energy in the system. And it's trying to go somewhere. Yeah. And it would take a lot of energy to kind of recreate all that heat or all that energy. Well, if they're making the rain happen, well, what's happening to all the fish? What's happening to all the fish that are moving to other places in the ocean because it's too hot? Are they heating up the oceans too? Is everybody standing around with, coils heated? Are there secret submarines out there heating up the oceans to try and make it seem like, after a while it gets a little ridiculous. Not saying it can't happen. Not saying that I don't think geoengineering is happening or other experiments are happening. Absolutely, obviously, they are. Thanks, Matthew. I appreciate you're here too. Thanks, man. Um, or is it that all the stuff we're doing, all the things that we do every single day on this planet, actually require a lot of energy and create a lot of energy, a lot of waste energy? Could it be that? Certainly could. Certainly it could. You can't disconnect all this stuff. It's all connected, right? It's all connected. You can't disconnect this stuff. You can't say, well, humans certainly are polluting the planet. Certainly we could do better with the polluting of the planet, but we can't possibly be heating up the planet. Well, what are you talking about? Aren't emissions pollution? CO2 doesn't do it. Well, aren't those emissions pollution? Aren't those waste materials from all the stuff we're doing? We're obviously polluting the planet. We're obviously filling the oceans with microplastics. Do you deny that? I don't hear anybody denying that. We're obviously filling the world with endocrine disruptors. I don't hear anybody denying that. We're obviously, poisoning the earth with glyphosate and all kinds of other, runoff from fertilizers and vinyl chloride and, all kinds of pollutants. But golly gee whiz, this one pollutant we're putting in the sky has no effect whatsoever. We're totally bunging up the place all the time, but right? But this one thing that we're putting into the atmosphere, no, and actually it's good. It's good stuff. It's good for you. I don't know. Just saying. And if you mention the idea that maybe there might be maybe we're doing too much. Are you trying to take away my freedoms? Are you trying to say that humans are bad? I don't know. Certainly, I don't want to take away anybody's freedoms. I don't want my freedoms taken away. Absolutely not, whatsoever. However, I think that humans, on the whole, could do a lot better. I'm not anti-human. I just think we could get our shit together. That's not the same thing, right? Asking humans to think, logically through some problem solving and to maybe take on some responsibility and to maybe, get right with nature, become, work with nature and not pollute the shit out of it with all our plastic games and toys and stuff, and things, and cars and boats and stuff. Not pollute the shit out of it. Asking humans to maybe not do that. That's not anti-human. That's just we could probably act a little better. Is that a wild idea? That's not a wild idea. That's not even who you're gonna kill first. Anyways. You're making salsa with ham bone, man. I know it's delicious. Whatever y'all are making. Let's see. Somebody in Collins says, interesting considering the COVID takes on the show. Well, what do you mean? I don't know. I differ. COVID and climate change are not the same things to me. Consider this, Lysol. I'm just to respond to your question. Is the world really responding to climate change? Are we really taking climate change seriously? Are we really serious about actually acknowledging that we're doing something to the planet. And it's taken 30 or 40 years for us to even move into a position where we're like, oh, yeah. Oh, well, yeah, I guess we got to acknowledge that something is going on. Right? Because we spent 30 or 40 years acting like no, smoking is totally good for you, right? Like we spent 30 years acting like smoking is great for you. And then, after, whatever, decades, oh, well, maybe actually smoking is bad for you. That's where we're at in climate change. COVID is not the same as climate change, though. COVID is not in my mind. I mean, you can think however you want about it. I'm not telling you how to think. I'm just saying COVID is not a I don't know. It's a totally different story. COVID and climate change are completely different stories in my mind, not related to each other whatsoever. not on any level, because there's too much evidence around the fact that COVID was created in a lab, that it was generated by people, that it was possibly a leak or it was unintentional or intentionally leaked, and the responses to it were all ridiculous. And COVID as a pathogen is getting weaker as it mutates, that's what happens to viruses. It started out strong, now it's everywhere, now it's mutating, now it's become the common cold. It's not really something that I feel like everybody needs to, run screaming for the hills from. But I don't know. Long COVID isn't a thing. It's not even a thing. Long COVID is psychosomatic. It's been proven that it's psychosomatic. But anyways, we're not talking about COVID right now. We're talking about climate change. So you can disagree with me. I know that's why people's heads explode. That's why, that's why it's hard for people to groove on my message, because it's like, I believe in things based on evidence and data. I believe in things based on evidence and data. I don't believe in things based on propaganda and brainwashing. That's what I don't believe in. And so I believe in climate change based on evidence and data. And what's the what's a response to climate change? Even people that say that the answer to climate change is what? Like more production, more technology, right? I see people don't believe what I'm talking about, but that's fine. Oh, well, here. Hey, guys. Hey, Wayne and Lysol. Hey, I got something for you. I'm gonna move on back to the things that I was talking about, but just for you, just for you. Let's see. Hold on. I got something for you. Consider this. Consider this. Here is Fauci talking about masks. So let's just take one part of COVID, the mask myth, that masks actually do anything for you. They don't do shit for you. That was a lie. It's all for, control purposes. And here's Fauci, Dr. Fauci. So Wayne, is this a bullshit site? Is this a bullshit? I'm asking before I even play this, if this is a bullshit source for my thoughts. Here we go.
Middle of an outbreak, wearing a mask might make people feel should not be walking. There's no reason to be walking around with a mask. When you're in the middle of an outbreak, wearing a mask might make people feel a little bit better, and it might even block a droplet, but it's not providing the perfect protection that people think that it is. And often there are unintended consequences. People keep fiddling with the mask and they keep touching their face.
And can you get some schmutz sort of staying inside?
Should not be walking. There's no reason to be walking around with a mask.
You can also get, bacterial pneumonia? Anyways, so there's Dr. Fauci telling you that masks don't work. Ha ha! Bam. Take that. Oh, what's up with the source? Oh, the most bullshit sources. Oh, it was Dr. Fauci saying don't wear masks. Or masks aren't going to help you, which is true. They're not going to help you. CNN just cited a meta study about whether mask wearing keeps you protected or not, and what it found was it does not. So what are you going to dispute CNN? You were telling me, oh, now you're going to call me a clown because I just completely made you look like a fool. I completely made you look like an absolute fool, so you want to call me a clown, and you think that's going to work because you're 3 years old. So, you think it's going to work to call me a clown because you're 3 years old. Because you don't have nothing. You don't have anything. Your arguments are ridiculous. You don't have nothing. I just gave you the source, the oracle of science, Dr. Fauci telling you that masks won't do anything for you. Anyways, CNN just cited, I just played a video of CNN citing a meta study saying that masks don't do anything for you. That's just one aspect of COVID. We can go through many if you like, but I'm not going to do that. This show is not about that. The show right now is just about how stupid you guys are, but that's fine. Keep watching. Keep watching. Maybe you'll learn something. Maybe you'll learn something from little old me. Golly. I love arguing with the bots, I guess. Maybe you really believe what you believe. I'm not sure. Maybe you're paid to believe what you believe. Maybe somebody's sending you around to argue with people in the chats. There are lots of people that do that for a living. It must be good. It must be good too. But maybe you really believe what you believe. I don't know. And that's fine. Anyways, it's fun to argue with people sometimes. Let's go back. Let's go back to what we were talking about previously. I don't know why you think calling me a name proves your point. And it's not out of context. He literally just said a mask is not going to do anything for you. That's not out of context. That's Fauci saying really walking around with a mask is not going to protect you. It may protect you from a little, like a spittle or a droplet. He literally just said that out of his mouth. I don't know what you're missing about the context, but it's cool. Extreme avalanche danger reported in Argentina after over 3 feet of snow fell. Good Lord. We had stuff like this in California, not necessarily avalanche danger, but we had, so much snow falling that people's lives were in danger. That whole areas of California were, closed off for months and months. People had some serious problems. Let's see. It's cool. I understand there are people on both sides of the aisle who want to believe their own dogma. It's all right. It's okay. I don't believe in a dogmatic approach to believe in what I believe. I believe in a free inquiry. And it's, feel like that's a better way to do it. 10,000 people are missing after devastating floods in Libya. Dang it. 10,000 people missing. A Red Cross and Red Crescent official says. He said the death toll was huge and expected to reach into the thousands in the coming days as assessments of the damage are carried out. Now they left because I'm not playing with them anymore, or at least one of them left. Alrighty, well, sayonara, arrivederci. Good luck and good riddance. He said the death toll was huge and expected to reach into the thousands in the coming days as assessments of the damage are carried out. That is wild. They got shellacked in Libya. Just absolutely devastated. Absolutely devastated. All right, welcome. If I know it's a late show, I know it's an odd time, but thanks guys for hanging out. We're live on all the platforms, Callin, Rockfin, and on YouTube. Let's see. This is William Reese. You know William Reese. He's the guy that Nate Hagens interviews all the time. Hagens. William Reese on the human ecology of overshoot, why a major population correction is inevitable. And he's got some pretty foundational things to say. I'm not going to read the whole thing. It's too much, too long for now, but I'll read this because I think this is interesting. Both nature and nurture contribute to the overshoot crisis. But the natural component is mostly ignored. Indeed, most denizens of MTI society do think of themselves products of evolution, i.e. of Darwinian natural selection. Many resent even being reminded that they are animals. True story. When you call some people animals, they'll be really upset. We are animals. Biologically, we are animals. You may think that you're special because you have a big brain, but you still live, like any other animal, right? You have to eat, you have to poop, you have to, you sweat, you have to sleep, you have to do biological things. You are not a machine. You are an animal. You are biological. Ironically, part of the reason for such denial resides in humanity's extraordinary evolutionary success. We are the dominant and certainly the most numerous large mammal species on Earth. As much of this success is attributable to the abundance of resources made available by improving technology, cultural evolution receives all the credit. However, basic biology underpins all human cultures. Even the capacity for socio-cultural organization is itself an evolved trait. Of particular relevance in the present context are three innate abilities and predispositions that humans share with all the other species. Unless constrained by negative feedback, populations of Homo sapiens are capable of exponential and geometric growth, like most animals. 2, tend to consume all available resources, a highly adaptive trait in the absence of refrigeration or other preservation techniques, or in the face of intense competition from neighboring tribes. And 3, will expand to occupy all accessible, suitable habitats. Significantly, in the case of humans, both the availability of resources and suitability of habitat are constantly being upwardly refined by technology, thus amplifying the underlying genetic predispositions. We will return to population dynamics in a later section. Consider first industrial humanity's characteristically insatiable demand for resources and habitats, abetted by improving exploitative technologies or exploitation technologies. Homo sapiens is depleting the seas and forest, has otherwise diminished wild nature, has destroyed a third of Earth's arable soil and landscapes, has mined out the richest deposits of many mineral and metal ores, and in just a couple of centuries has run through the high-quality half of the massive stocks of fossil energy that took tens of millions of years to accumulate. Society's dependence on fossil fuels is one reason why the MTI mainstream sees an ice-free Arctic Ocean not so much as a climate catastrophe, but as the opening up of new trade routes and exposing the Arctic basin to oil and gas development. Meanwhile, having depleted the richest sources of dryland mineral resources, some industries and countries are gearing up to mine the sea floor. We will scour the bottom of the earthly barrel. Looking ahead, still others have set their sights on the presumed mineral wealth of asteroids or the moon as the next resource troves to be served up for exploitation. The last point also hints at the third crucial trait noted above, humanity's spatial expansionism. Can you think of any ecologically comparable species with a geographic range even remotely as large as that of Homo sapiens? Hint, there is none. Driven by our natural expansionist imperative, humans have colonized the entire planet. There is no significant patch of human habitable landscape on Earth that we have not long since claimed as our own. We even occupy certain habitats that are fundamentally hostile to human existence. Think Antarctic field stations. Meanwhile, various entrepreneurs and humanist dreamers would have us colonize the moon or Mars, not only for their resource potential, but to ensure against the extinction of Homo sapiens should earthly life support systems fail under the weight of human demands. All right. That's all I'm going to read of that, but it's interesting study. I mean, I could just keep reading this. It's pretty good, but I won't. All right. Yeah, I like those types of articles too, but I just want to cover some other things. It's true though. What he says is true. I love, hearing William Reese talk about overshoot. He's just so right over the mark. Did you hear about the U.S.? Well, hold on. We'll stay with climate change for a moment. Excuse me. It's been a long morning. Oh, I already did this. Sorry. The Atlantic is behaving exactly the opposite way than it should be in an El Nino year, producing lots of hurricanes and tropical storms. I mean, definitely the system is out of balance. Look at this for a moment. Through September 11th, the 2023 Atlantic hurricane season is above average for all tropical cyclone parameters that we track at the Colorado State University. The season has been busiest relative to normal for named storms, named storm days, major hurricanes, and major hurricane days. So we're at, as you can see, way above the 1991-2020 average. 171% above for named storms, 158% above for named storm days, 143% above for hurricanes, number of hurricanes so far, 114% for hurricane days, 200% for major hurricanes, 160% for major hurricane days, and 142% for accumulated cyclone energy. All right. How y'all doing? Good to see you here. Thanks for hanging out. We got a good number of folks watching on YouTube. Few folks on Colin and Rockfin. That's all right. Y'all can watch this on replay. I'm sure if anybody wants to, they can do it. They can do it. Is it already 3:40? Good God. How did it get so late? I want to cover some other things too. Man, way too many things. Looks like we're going to reactivate a mine for the DOD, the Department of Defense. Hey, guys. We need some lithium to green up the military here. So the DOD is opening up a mine in North Carolina. Reopening a mine, the Kings Mountain mine, that can produce 5 million tons of white gold. Thanks, John. Yeah, please, everybody, like up the videos if you're here hanging out and you are appreciating. The U.S. government committed $90 million to help reopen the lithium mine. They want to bolster the U.S. military's net zero emissions goal by 2050. Hardy, har, har. The investment directly supports President Biden's April 2022 presidential determination for critical materials and large capacity batteries. But not only are we, grabbing all the lithium that we could possibly get, we're also still trying to grab all the oil we could possibly get. What's that you say? Let's see. Where is it? Where is it? Oh, U.S. is behind more than a third of global oil and gas expansion plans. The U.S. is behind it. A third. That's a lot. Study highlights conflict between Washington's claims of climate leadership and its fossil fuel growth plans. From Steve Austin, we have met the enemy and they are us. So we're planning on expanding pretty much everything, right? The lithium and the batteries and the greening of the military is not to go really to go green. It's just to expand all possible energy capacities. We just want to expand, period. Growth is the name of the game, and we want to be on top of the growth leaderboard. That's the name of the game. Study, anyways, I read that part. The U.S. accounts for more than a third of the expansion of global oil and gas production planned by mid-century, despite its claims of climate leadership, research has found. So there is no real intention behind the, we care about the climate message, or we're going green, or we're going to switch over to a new economy, or we're going to retool the, no. In order to actually make all those renewables, in order to actually, put up the facade that we're going green, you actually need to power that with what? Fossil fuels. You need to build all those electric cars with what? Fossil fuels. Canada and Russia have the next biggest expansion plans, calculated based on how much carbon dioxide is likely to be produced from new developments, followed by Iran, China, and Brazil. The data in a report from the campaign group Oil Change International also showed that 5 global north countries, the US, Canada, Australia, Norway, and the UK, will be responsible for just over half of all the planned expansion from new oil and gas fields to 2050, right? So I don't know how you're going to make some net zero goals by 2050 while you're expanding your oil and gas production, exploration, etc., drilling, whatever. You can't expand and contract at the same time. You can't do that. But you can say to people, we're planning on contracting while you're expanding. You can lie to people. You can tell people one thing's happening while you're doing another thing, and everybody be like, well, golly gee willikers, they told me that they were doing the right thing. It turns out all this time they were doing the wrong thing. Well, golly gee. I am amazed. I am perplexed. You know? You got to get with the times, man. Greenhouse gas emissions from all of the oil and gas expansion that is planned in the next 3 decades would be more than enough to drive global temperatures well beyond the limit of 1.5 C above pre-industrial levels that countries agreed on in 2021. They're not telling you. That's also a lie. That entire paragraph is a lie. They are lying to you. And that is, on some levels, fraud or conspiracy or whatever, conspiracy to commit fraud. They're lying to you that we've already released enough emissions into the air. We're already way past 1.5 C. We're not staying within 1.5 C. There is no staying within 1.5 C. That is not even a reality on any physical level. That's already locked in. That's already baked in the cake. That's already a done deal, done and dusted. They're just selling you this dream that somehow we're going to keep ourselves from destroying ourselves if we only do the right thing, something, something, something. But it's probably more a result of whoever wrote this article being, unable to either find the necessary information or come to grips with the information that, like, it's not happening. We're going into a bad place. There's no, there is no. The whole premise of this article is totally ridiculous. And all the major countries are just, like, how about some more oil and gas? Oh, yeah, climate change, really bad. But how about some more oil and gas? I think the only way we're going to fight the climate change is if we get some more oil and gas out of the ground, is what we're trying to tell you. Hi, Wayne's. Hi, Wayne's. Totally cool, man. Totally cool, bro. You're totally cool. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. I appreciate you. You're awesome. So that's happening. What else is happening? We're stealing an entire oil company from Venezuela. Citgo. So that's nice. Yeah. Did you know? I didn't actually know this. That we took over. Trump actually did this. Trump did this. Trump was a big part of the let's overthrow Venezuela team. Team overthrow Venezuela too. I mean, there was an actual overthrow attempt under his administration. He did recognize Guaido as the official president of Venezuela or whatever, legitimate president of Venezuela. And during his tenure, he basically took over Citgo, took it from Venezuela. And now they're auctioning off shares to the highest bidder. News recap: U.S. corporations continue to play their favorite sport, stealing Venezuelan assets. It's all good. If it wasn't Trump, it would be Biden. If it wasn't Biden, it would be Trump. Right? They just it's like, hey, we'll just pass the ball back and forth between each other of doing really crazy, horrific stuff to people. A U.S. judge ruled in favor of 4 companies to seize shares of Citgo, the U.S.-based Venezuelan oil subsidiary, or subsidiary, whichever way you want to say it. The Guaido-led administration's running of Citgo is part of a pattern of actions that have endangered foreign assets. A judge ruled Friday that 4 companies had the right to seize shares of Citgo, the U.S.-based subsidiary of Venezuelan state oil company Petróleos de Venezuela, after they convinced the court that it was the alter ego of the so-called interim government of Venezuela. Citgo, considered Venezuela's most prized foreign asset, is on the brink of being broken up and seized by creditors pending changes to the sanctions regime imposed by the U.S. Treasury Department's Office of Foreign Assets Control. The potential seizure of shares stem from awards worth billions against the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela in international arbitration courts. Yeah. In October, Delaware Judge Leonard P. Stark set the auction process in motion to satisfy Canadian miners Crystalex's efforts to collect $1.4 billion sum awarded by the World Bank's International Center for Settlement of Investment Disputes in 2016 as compensation for the 2008 nationalization of its gold mine in eastern Venezuela. Whoa. Wow. Wow. Any sale remains contingent on the authorization of the Treasury. Wow. Control of Citgo and its parent company, PDV Holding, was handed over to the Venezuelan political opposition led by Juan Guaido in 2019 as part of the regime change strategy that saw Washington formally recognize the opposition figure as Venezuela's interim president and ramp up wide-reaching sanctions. Wow. So basically, people who had their companies nationalized in Venezuela, I guess, have claims to damages, and they're going to take that out of the breaking up of Citgo. Wow. It's a big story. Lee Camp I dare anyone to tell me what Venezuela did to us that necessitates stealing all their assets and stopping medicine from getting to sick people. Yeah, it's rather wild what's going on. There's another story that let's see. The U.S. is now a straight-up pirate. They seized oil from Iran, gold from Venezuela. True story. And dollars from Russia. They even stole the company Citgo. This is also from Lee Camp. U.S. seizes nearly 1 million barrels of Iranian oil allegedly bound for China. Jesus. Give me a second, guys. Give me 1 second. Trying to see if I can get this on the internets. U.S. seizes nearly 1 million barrels of Iranian oil allegedly bound for China. Seized. I love it. They seized it like they're the police. Oh, we had to seize this contraband instead of stealing it. Like they're just imperial pirates. You know, as if we're not the Death Star coming to gobble up whatever your planet has. According to newly unsealed court documents in a statement released by the Department of Justice on Friday. This is the first ever criminal resolution involving a company that violated sanctions by facilitating the illicit sale and transport of Iranian oil, according to the DOJ. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, a U.S. designated foreign terrorist organization, allegedly shipped more than 980,000 barrels of oil, the press release stated. Wow. The DOJ claimed that multiple entities affiliated with Iran's IRGC and IRGC Quds Force were involved in the scheme to disguise the origin of the oil and illegally sell it to China, according to court documents. So basically, they violated sanctions. And we just took all their oil. Okay, in April, the company operating the ship carrying the oil, Empire Navigation, pleaded guilty to conspiring to violate the International Emergency Economic Powers Act. The IRGC was fined almost $2.5 million and was sentenced to 3 years of corporate probation. The company's vessel, Suez Rajan Limited, transported the contraband to the U.S. and incurred the significant expenses associated with the vessel's voyage to the United States. Huh. Interesting. Let's listen to, all right, we're going to move on. I'm going to cover a couple of political things. Before I get out of here, the time has flown. But I will be back at the regular time tomorrow, guys. I know everybody, it's, not great for, everybody has an expectation that I'll be here at noon, and so I know it throws people off when I'm not here at noon. This is Briahna Joy Gray on Rising talking about voting blue no matter who. But the way she puts it is so good. It's so good.
Who is worse, Biden or Trump? Who is more likely to cause nuclear war? Yeah. If I presented you with a pile of poop and a pile of vomit and said, which one of these you want for dinner, do you really want to enter into an esoteric conversation about which is the less appetizing meal? The whole point is that we should be united around the common goal of getting rid of these two bad options, of getting rid of the corporate duopoly. And when you ask those kinds of questions, it has the effect of breaking up what should be a coalition that's charged principally with getting those corporate bodies out of power. Ooh. And I saw a similar kind of issue emerge over the weekend or into last week because very popular comedian podcast host Jamie Dore interviewed Cornel West, someone who's been very sympathetic of a Green Party voter, things like that. And they ended up getting into a tussle about whether or not kind of COVID mandates versus fighting racism and white supremacy is the most important thing. And again, that feels like a trap. Many people believe that COVID mandates are very important and not having authoritarian mandates are very important, and also think that racism is bad and important. If you're in the business of going around trying to make voters have the exact same, not just broad priorities, but rank them in the exact order that you rank them in, you are doing the work of busting up any coalition that could possibly be in power. It's op work. Intentionally or unintentionally, that is op work. That is like CIA applauding from the sidelines level work. if you can agree that these are your priorities, big ticket items, being anti-authoritarianism, being anti-white supremacy, being anti-mandate, being anti any of the tools that the establishment has been used to break up working class coalitions since time immemorial, then you need to say we're all going to fight on all of those things together. Maybe you're a child and you care about child care a little bit more than you care about health care. Maybe you have a sick parent, so you care about health care a little bit more than the military. Maybe you have a brother serving or a sister serving, so you care about the military-industrial complex more than you care about housing rights. But the whole point is that you should be trying to get people under a big tent, not nitpicking about which thing is worse, and then busting up the coalition on that basis.
Oh man, I really love that. And I know that I've been applauding Jimmy Dore pointing out the weak spots in people's campaigns. I know that. However, I have a nuanced position on that, which is that, you know, the other day I said he was a campaign killer, and I didn't actually go further with the statement that I wanted to make about that, which is, and I've been thinking about it. He might be a campaign killer, but is that a good thing necessarily? Like these are the only people that are providing any kind of opposition to the status quo. And you know, you can argue whether you could poke holes whether their intentions are or altruistic or not, or altruistic enough for you or not, or you could say, is this person a serious person or a serious candidate? Are they really is their intention to really mount an oppositional campaign? All those questions are valid, but I do think her point is a good one. As in, let's applaud these people for trying. Let's try and build a coalition. I'm down with that, right? The coalition that's anti-mandate and anti-racism. Hell yeah. I get what Jimmy Dore is saying about, you know, it's hard because white supremacy or calling people racist has been used as, they've already called Cornel West a white supremacist. They called Bernie Sanders a white supremacist. They called his followers racist. And they will do more of the same. They called, you know, RFK Jr. an anti-Semite and a racist and probably a white supremacist and probably a Putin puppet and probably and blah, blah, blah. Jimmy Dore is coming from a space of like, well, when you say those words, it sounds like the words that they weaponize against people. Whatever. But white supremacy is a thing. Racism is a thing. I think it's okay for people to be anti-racist, especially if you're a black person. I think everybody should be anti-racist, personally, but, you know, I'm not here to tell anybody how to feel. But I think it's okay to be you can disagree on these finer points, but encourage the oppositional instinct, right? and yeah, I don't know. I don't know. The left is eating itself. The left has become, and you could say, well, why don't you support AOC? Why don't you support all these? Well, those people are lying to you about their actual intentions. That's the point. That's the problem. And so I don't know. Her point is a good one. At the same time, it's like it's hard to support people whose intentions are not, who might or might not be, you know, real truthful about their intentions, right? And I don't know. I don't know what to do about it. I don't know what the answer is. I just loved what she had to say, and I think that that's true. I think we need to build a bigger coalition, anti-oppositional coalition. But if nobody wants to really oppose, if everybody wants to fall in line, then there's no opposition there. If at the end of the day everybody's like, man, we need to fight for the people, but golly gee, Willikers, the only way we're going to do that is voting for Joe Biden. Well, then you just killed the whole intention of your campaign. There's something else really important I want to cover, but North, how you doing? Thanks for calling in, North. Oh, did you mean to or no? What's up? How you doing, man?
Yeah, I agree with most everything you said. I think that voting blue, no matter who, is dumb during midterm. That's a funny bell you got there.
Yeah, sorry.
It's okay. But I think during a presidential race, it's unfortunately the only thing that makes sense until you actually do get a strong coalition. Like right now, the third party option in the United States is so small, especially with the presidential election, that the only thing that you will get is a worse situation than you want. If you're talking about things like anti-racism, better rights for workers, climate action, a lot of the things that are on the left. Like, if you think that voting for a third party in a presidential election is going to pull Biden to the left, I don't think there's a mechanism for that. Like, that doesn't really make sense in real life. It makes sense for a midterm because, like, you get seats, right? You'll get congressmen and senators that are green or some other third party that actually vote and are taking away power from both the Republicans and the Democrats. But in a presidential election, you'll probably just get a Republican, and they'll probably just do a bunch of stuff that was worse than the crappy things that Biden was going to do. And it's not going to pull the Democrats to the left, I don't think.
Yeah, and we're left, unfortunately, with the argument of, like, well, is Biden doing worse than Trump? Is he doing worse things than Trump? And a lot of people, and I have pointed out that so far, Biden's has a way better batting average for fascism than Trump. Biden's batting cleanup for fascism right now. I mean, Trump was just, leadoff guy. He was tepid compared to Biden. But I still, but getting into that argument of who's worse, Biden or Trump, that's a trap. That's a trap for me, anyways. But I hear what you're saying. I got you. I mean, I'm in the position, though, that it's hard for me to necessarily agree with what you're saying because, when, if not now, when? We're always going down the road of it gets worse and worse. The choices get worse.
Yeah. No, I would say when is during the midterms. Right. During the midterms, go full third party. Get your congressmen, get your senators, get your governors. That's how you, in my opinion, build that coalition. I don't think a presidential election is the time to do that. All you basically end up doing is just, like, kind of pulling away support.
But do you think we'll get enough people in at the midterms? And let's say you're talking about voting for just congressmen or local people. Even during the presidential election, right? You could say vote for the big, either one during the presidential election, but on the lower tickets, vote third party or vote whatever.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely. Yeah.
But do you think do you think we can get enough people in there that are actually have conviction to push the power paradigm, in the direction they want?
Maybe, but I think that's the only choice you have, and I think it's a much better strategy than just kind of voting for a third party for president, and they don't get in there anyways. And in my opinion, you get somebody in there that's worse than the crappy Biden option. I feel like that's an even worse strategy.
I don't. It's so hard because. I can't even make I can't make an argument. Priyanka said, if I presented you with a plate of poo and a plate of vomit and told you to argue over which one is better, like, that's literally what we keep getting. and it's
Well,
you know,
you know what,
I
that was
honestly
actually
the play you know, I don't know if you're gonna actually say, hey, gun to the head, choose one. You have to choose one of these people. There's no other choice. There's no way out. And you know, I'm gonna make you have to do this, or else something bad is gonna happen to you, right?
Right.
Well, Jesus Christ, I would probably vote for Trump. Why? Because he's seems to actually have an oppositional bone in his body to the powers that be, because he seems to once in a while go, nah, I don't want to start a war over here. Nah, I don't want the TPP. Nah, I don't want to do this, you know, horrific thing, whatever it might be. That doesn't excuse all the horrific things that he does. I'm just saying Biden doesn't seem to have any opposition to anything. You know, Biden's like, whatever it is you put in front of me, I'm going to do it. Right? Biden's like, let's go to war with Russia. Come on. China too. Right? And so if there's, you know, it's just such a horrible position to think. I'm not gonna do that though. I'm not gonna vote for Trump. I'm letting you know that I'm not voting for Trump because I'm a free person and nobody's holding a gun to my head to go vote for him. And so I'm not gonna vote for him. So
yeah, I'm
not voting. I'm not voting for Trump. I'm not voting for Biden. I'm not voting for any of those fools. But I'm just saying, if you made me choose right now, I would say like Biden is far worse. Biden is just a disaster. Biden is just tanking everything, and Biden's allowing a whole lot of really horrible things go down. That Trump was at least opposed a little bit to, right? Some things. There were some things that Trump was opposed to. Trump killed the TPP, which would have been terrible. Trump actually made the deal to get us out of Afghanistan. Biden just had to abide by it. Right?
Sure.
That whole getting out of Afghanistan was Trump's doing. He tried to get us out of Syria. The military-industrial complex was like, "No, let's shoot you in the kneecap for that." He tried to not give arms to Ukraine, and they impeached him for it. I mean, so it's, I don't know. That doesn't mean that I'm like, yay, Trump, I'm going to go vote for Trump. I'm not voting for Trump. So, Gene, you have a good point. If we get 5% for the Green Party, they get federal funding, and we need to support ranked choice voting. We need to at least bring those options to the table, and nobody's really talking about that. So I don't know. I think that's another thing too, is that during a presidential campaign, it seems to be, I don't know if it's doing any good, but it seems like, well, if you get a candidate in there that can bring up issues that are actually important and real issues, you could at least get people talking about stuff that's oppositional to how things are going, right? But and I agree with that tactic of like putting a candidate forward. He's not going to win, but at least he's going to start a conversation about things. I like that tactic. Does it seem to actually make any difference? I don't know. I don't know if it does. Anyways, North, man, I gotta wrap the show up pretty soon. But I appreciate you calling in. I do like your, I like what you have to say about your idea of voting third party in other elections rather than president. That's I get it. I get what you're saying.
All right, buddy.
All right, thanks, man. So I don't know what moves the needle. That's the thing. It's like, we had all this lovely, in two straight election cycles, we had all this lovely rhetoric about, oligarchs and taxing the 1% and healthcare for all and student debt and going green. We had all this lovely, lovely rhetoric, and people said, this is important to me. And then like all of that went away. All of that went away when it's like, well, we got to vote for Biden if you want to keep Trump out of office. And you got Biden in, and that all of that just disappeared like smoke, like freaking smoke. None of that stuff is important. None, and it's going to go in the other direction, right? We're going to get less health care. We're going to get less, we're going to get climate change action. We're going to get fossil fuels disguised as climate change action. We're going to get more war. We're going to get more destruction. We're going to get not really very much student debt taken care of. It's probably going to get worse. Student debt's going to get worse because the economy is completely in tatters right now. So you're going to have more homeless people. You're going to have more people out of work. You're going to have more people in starvation mode. I just saw something. I'll probably have to dig it up and bring it back tomorrow, but I just saw something about child poverty going up something like 500% in the last couple of years. Thank you, Biden. Thank you, Joe Biden. So, yeah, I mean, it's just this administration is a shambles. It is an absolute disaster. We are absolutely going in the wrong direction, and everybody feels that. And I'm not saying, well, Trump's the answer. No, Trump is not the answer. But they want you to get stuck in that, like, well, maybe it's Trump. Well, maybe it's Biden. Well, maybe we'll go to the next guy, right? The next neoliberal, neocon choice that they serve up to us, right? Maybe we get Trump for another 4 years and it's another disaster. And then, the next person in line, I don't know. I can't even see beyond 4 years. I can't even see beyond 2028. I can't even imagine what 2028 is going to look like. Probably pretty bad. Anyways. Woo! I didn't even get to cover all the things I wanted to cover today. There was so much to talk about, and I felt like we barely scraped it. What's up, Denver? Denver's joined us on Rockfin. Yes. Denver says, just saying, throwing people in jail for questioning an election seems like what people who stole an election would do. Ooh. True story. True effing story. And all of that. Oh God, there was so many great things I wanted to bring you today, and I just don't have time to bring them to you. But I will bring them back to you tomorrow. Okay, so everybody be here at 12 p.m. Real quick before I go, if you guys do enjoy the show, you can support the show here. PayPal.me/Kevin Sandblum, Venmo @Kevin Sandblum. All the links are below. BuyMeACoffee.com/BlackBearNews. All the links are below in the description box. You can super chat me, super ray me. You can Patreon me. Can do all those things. Man, I had a lot more good stuff to bring you today. Just ran out of time. So, thanks for hanging out with me today, guys. And I will see you all tomorrow at the regular time of 12 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. Till next time, peace.